Back in 2008, when I started university, I rented a two-bedroom apartment with my first ex-girlfriend at the time and my friend and his girlfriend. We got a great deal for it, as the owner of the place lost her job because of everything that happened back then and decided to try her luck abroad where she still lives. Years went by, and after university, my friend and his girlfriend decided to find a place of their own, as we had full-time jobs. Renting this apartment together didn't seem expensive anymore, and it also didn't seem costly to rent alone after we broke up some time later. So there I was, alone in a two-bedroom apartment in the central part of the city. The owner decided she was too lazy to mess with bills and stuff every month and made arrangements for me to pay everything directly. As I earned her trust, I still pay her monthly rent, which is very cheap for today, and deal with everything else having her authorization. Because of the perfect location, my second bedroom was basically free B&B for my friends who didn't live in a city, and I didn't mind. It's good to have company if you live alone. In 2020, I met a girl who was in a rush to get married, and as I was madly in love, we did in 2021. For some reason, I never told her how I rented the place or that it was a rental at all. It just never came up. I've been so used to being an authorized representative with building cooperative things, etc., that I refer to it as my place. Our relationship started to cool down, and we discovered that we were not perfect for each other. So divorce was. So we did the paperwork for divorce, and she's moving out. A few days ago, I received an email from her with a real estate valuation document as an attachment. While I was not at home, she wasted €500 for someone to evaluate an apartment that does not belong to us, and wrote that I probably have to take a loan to pay her the 50% of that. I told her, didn't I ever tell her this place is a rental? Why does she even assume I can afford a two-bedroom apartment in the city center? She knows where I work and how much I earn. She called and screamed at me that I had lied to her for years and hid the fact that the apartment was a rental. Then she told me she would take the car as we got that together. And I was quiet for a moment and then told her, you know that's a lease, right? The owner of the car is the bank. Then she demanded that I pay for the valuation, and I replied, I did not ask you to do that. She called me an idiot and ended the call. Of course, she told our whole friend group how I lied to her during the whole marriage. There was a discussion in a messenger group with friends about whether it was a lie or not, whether it was an idiot thing to do. Some agreed with me and some with her. So, am I the idiot for not telling my ex-wife that we lived in a rental apartment? Edit. We live in Finland. She did cover 50% of the utility bills as she wanted to contribute, and it was no secret that I'd been living there for a very long time. I just never spelled out that this is a rental. I think she assumed I owned it because we did some maintenance there together that you normally don't do in a rental. Changed the wallpaper in the living room and got a few appliances when old ones broke down. Wait, so she didn't contribute to the rent or supposed mortgage? She effectively stayed for free and only paid half of the utilities? I guess that's fine for a premarital property for which you alone are on the deed, but the audacity to expect half? It sounds like she's already profited off of the apartment. I really enjoy it when greedy people get nothing. Not the idiot, and thanks for sharing. I wonder why she was in such a rush to get married. Was her plan all along to get married and then take you for half of everything after a couple of years? Also, getting the evaluation behind your back? Although, I guess a real gold digger would have done that earlier, so then she would know what they were getting. OP, I'm sorry. This is technically not funny, but I laughed so much when she tried to get half of the apartment, failed, then tried to get the car, and you just dropped, that's a rental. She tried so hard, poor thing. Still, I'm in awe at how little OP thinks before he acts. He got married to someone he only knew for a year. Even the way he organized his thoughts here seemed kind of carefree and laid back. I ended up in a two-bedroom apartment alone. There was a girl, she wanted to get married, so we got married. We weren't perfect for each other, so we got a divorce. Whoops, I didn't tell her it was a rental. How did that happen? Anyway, she's angry. She brought it to a chat with our friends. What do you guys think? Bro, you're so lucky. It genuinely sounds like she was trying to rob you of half of your crap. My daughters, Lizzie and Maggie, are polar opposites. The girls have never gotten along, and forcing them to get together would only result in fights. I made them learn to be civil while doing small things together while being civil, but otherwise I made sure they had their space. Lizzie in particular has always been headstrong and not afraid to speak her mind. I was trying to teach her about appropriate ways to speak her mind and when and who to have tact with. But as I said, Lizzie is a very opinionated person, and even with the counselor's recommendations, my efforts had little impact. Lizzie's recently developed a rude attitude towards family. Our family does not find it cute, and most members will simply tell her to leave or not reply back. When I brought it up with her, Lizzie just made statements like, "I'm an adult. I can say what I want. Because she pays her own bills, there's nothing more I can do." Lizzie came calling me recently because she's been making mean comments about Maggie, and Maggie responded by taking a jab at Lizzie. Lizzie claimed her comments were a joke, but Maggie took it too far. Her sister couldn't say these things, and I should talk to Maggie about it. I refused and reiterated what I'd already said to Lizzie. She is an adult and can say what she wants, but when you try to start something, don't be surprised when the other person bites just as hard. Maybe others would bite their tongues when she was a kid, but people won't hold back anymore now that she's an adult. Lizzie tried to say that Maggie's comments were out of line, but I told her that asking me to get involved was just childish. They're both living on their own and in their 20s. It's far too old for me to be mitigating their arguments like children. If they choose to interact with one another, they need to learn to work out their disputes like adults. Lizzie's still upset with me, saying Maggie took it too far, and what she said was beyond any line. But as I said, this behavior is childish, and both my girls have proven through their careers and independence that they're above it. Neither's under my roof anymore, and it's not my responsibility to mitigate their fights anymore. Am I the idiot? Edit. Lizzie made mean comments about Maggie's hobbies, and Maggie brought up the high school drama about Lizzie. Nothing that would justify me getting involved in my adult children's disagreements. Not the idiot. Seems like Lizzie's stuck in a mean girl phase, and she's going to find out fairly quickly that other adults, be they friends, family, or strangers, aren't going to put up with her crap. If she doesn't curb her attitude, it's most likely going to go beyond poor familiar relationships. She's going to lose jobs, opportunities, friendships, romantic relationships, etc. It seems that your other daughter finally is giving her a taste of her own medicine, and it's had more of an impact than ignoring her or asking her to leave. Good for Maggie. Maybe y'all should have been giving some of that same energy to Lizzie. Sometimes they need to experience what they're inflicting to gain a crumb of empathy. Yeah, high school drama got her upset enough to run to you? Geez, she's literally someone who lives in a glass house and is tossing stones. You get what you pay for. She paid in insults and got one back she wasn't expecting. They're adults living on their own. They can learn to communicate about joking or other inane, thoughtless cruelty. I'm sorry, but you are the idiot. Instead of calling Lizzie childish, try to understand her feelings. It's hard seeing your kids clash, and even adults sometimes need a little support navigating those feelings. Maybe both just need a reminder that it's okay to talk it out and set boundaries like adults instead of digging in, you know? It's kind of complex, and both sides have their points. So it could help to encourage some open conversation instead of just stepping back completely. I had my parents over for dinner this weekend, 60s, and after, my daughter Tween asked if she could play us a song she'd been practicing on her keyboard. She gets lessons. It wasn't perfect, with a few missed notes and a couple of pauses, but she did really well. She looked up at the end with a massive smile, and I started clapping, and my parents started freaking laughing. Not just a little chuckle, a massive freaking belly laugh, them both. My mom asked if it was her first time playing it, and my dad said it had to have been. A dog could have played that better. It was like my daughter was shrinking on the spot, and she looked down and said, "No, I've had 2 lessons, but doing it with 2 hands is hard." And they just laughed even freaking harder. I just stood up, took their cups, and said, "Leave." Now Mom tried to say about how they hadn't finished their drinks, and they wanted to hear another song, etc., and said, "Get your stuff and get the heck out of my house, right now." My dad started doing this huffing thing he does when someone dares to speak up to him, and my mom said, there was no need to be like this, that I can't protect her all the time, and that she's preparing my daughter for the real world. I said it's not teaching the real world. They're just nasty little bullies picking on children, and crap like this is why I was so messed up as a kid. Now leave. They got their stuff and left. I sat with my daughter and explained how proud I was of her and how well she was doing. To ignore them. They were just being cruel because they didn't know any other way to be. They asked if she could please play it again, which she did. On Sunday, I messaged and said that we're taking a break away from them until they can behave like decent human beings. My dad replied that it was my choice, but he didn't realize he raised me to be so precious. Now my lovely golden child of a sister's getting involved. She phoned me today with my parents' version of events, telling me I was a nasty piece of work and should never speak to my parents that way, that I'm wrapping my child in cotton wool, and blah, blah, blah. I just told her to go screw herself and hung up. I'm not asking if I'm in the wrong for standing up for my daughter. I'll always do that. But I did go pretty 0 to 100. I kicked them out straight away. I swore at them in front of my daughter. I did raise my voice at the end when I said leave. I was and still am angry. I don't think I'd even accept an apology from them at this point. This behavior isn't new. It's decades old. But this is the first time it affected my daughter. Did I go too far? React too much? Should I have tried to be calmer? Talk it out? I don't know. Am I the idiot for kicking my parents out? Who laughs in a young child's face when they're just starting to learn a new skill? Their actions were out of line and uncalled for. Not the idiot. You stood up for your daughter, protecting her from cruel, unnecessary comments. Your reaction was strong, but it's understandable given your parents' long history of hurtful behavior. You're breaking the cycle and prioritizing your daughter's well-being. There's no need to tolerate that kind of treatment, especially when it impacts your child. Absolutely. I still remember getting a makeup set at 5 or 6. I went to town, big spots of pink blush, blue eyeshadow, and red lipstick, colored wax basically. I wanted my makeup to be as pretty as my mom's. My parents laughed and asked if I was trying to be a clown. In their case, it wasn't intended to be malicious, and they apologized. But I didn't really like playing with the makeup anymore because I had tried so hard, thought I looked beautiful, and got laughed at instead. I'm now almost 40 and still don't really like makeup. Thank you for being a safe haven for your child and showing them what love and acceptance look like. I've never understood the logic. The world is a mean enough place as it is. Why should our loved ones make it worse when they could make it better? My parents have made me the butt of jokes for more than 50 years. The only one who ever stood up for me was my late husband, and it made me feel so safe with him. Protect your baby girl. She's only this age once. I know 3 people who never need to darken your door again. They won't change. Don't let them come crawling back. You were just being the mama bear your daughter needs. Update. I'm a single dad. Also, thank you for all your comments. It definitely calmed the anger I felt and made me feel less bad about the way I reacted. I never doubted I was in the right to stand up for my daughter. That's just how I went about it. I will talk with my daughter about it all tomorrow after school or on the weekend. My parents and sister can just disappear for all I care right now. To all the commenters who said they wish they had someone like me when they were younger, I get it. Man, I really do. I hope you have someone now or can be that someone. Reading all these comments definitely changed my anger into sadness and realization that I'm not alone with the bad parents. Thanks for sharing. My 30 female friend, 35 female, recently got engaged, and I'm thrilled for her. She has spoken previously, before she was engaged, that she and her partner want to elope in a different, more expensive country. I've always supported her in this, and I'm a big believer in your wedding, your rules. The problem arose when she got engaged and said she couldn't wait for an elopement wedding. I took her aside and said that I may not be able to come due to finances. She responded that there would be plenty of time to save for the wedding. They plan to do it in 2026, and that the cost is what you make of it, and that it can always be made into a holiday for the guest so that they're not just flying 12-ish hours for the wedding. The country and city she plans to elope in is not my favorite place in the world, somewhere I have little interest in visiting, so I wouldn't make a holiday out of it. If I was going to attend, I'd attend only for the wedding and then return home. Fast forward 6 months, and the planning is started, and they've invited 40-ish people to come to the wedding, stating that they know other people who've eloped and have had 20 to 30 guests. I made a comment that that's an unrealistic expectation, as it is a lot of cost to ask people, and that she should be prepared that all 40 people might not come. In fact, it could be significantly less. She immediately got defensive. She stated that she wasn't being unreasonable and almost said that the cost would be the same for the guests at a home wedding. I totally disagree with this, but I didn't want to make the situation worse. She is aware there will be some people who will say no. I'm a very close friend to her, and I think she's more hurt than I'm implying that I might not be able to make it. From what I know, the couple isn't planning to pay any expenses, apart from maybe one meal after the wedding. Ever since my friend has been quiet and cold, and I want to know if I may have said too much, and I should have just politely declined to attend the wedding. I'm still trying to see if I can make the cost work, because I would love to go, but it's an awful lot of money for me. 2.5K is being generous. Am I the idiot for telling my friend I think she's unrealistic about her wedding? You are the idiot, not for not wanting to go. That's totally your prerogative, but for framing it like it's her problem that you can't go. I wouldn't have mentioned anything either time you brought up how people may not attend because of their choices. It's fair to let her know that you might not be able to attend and then RSVP no, but stop trying to judge her choices. I disagree. It is due to the friend's choices of having a destination wedding that OP can't go to. If the friend has a local wedding, OP would go. Technically, if she has an advanced plan and is inviting guests, it's a wedding, not an elopement. So she's having a destination wedding, a 12-hour plane ride away. That means any attendees are going to be A, very, very close friend, and B, interested in traveling to this particular destination, and C, has the financial resources for this trip. She needs to resign herself to the fact that out of the 40 people, just a few are going to meet all three of those criteria. I hope she can get 5, maybe 10 people to go. Yeah, I think it's funny that they're calling this eloping. That's not at all what it means to elope. Not the idiot. Anytime anyone has a destination wedding, they have to be prepared for the possibility of people not being able to attend. Also, if you can't make it due to finances, etc., just be sure to give her plenty of notice, and she'll have to accept that. I don't think it's unfair to assume that people would not be able to go. I wish people would just stop having destination weddings. I mean, your honeymoon is when you go to a destination. I had a destination, but only because I knew most of the people who expected to be invited wouldn't be able to come. I didn't want these people at my wedding, but not inviting them would have caused much bigger drama.